The insistent, rhythmic pulse of your chronometer, a small obsidian disc embedded seamlessly into the skin of your left wrist, drags you from the depths of a dreamless slumber. Its soft azure glow paints the minimalist contours of your futuristic apartment in fleeting, ethereal strokes. You blink, the sleep-induced haze clinging stubbornly to your perception, and the pre-dawn silence of your sterile sanctuary is abruptly shattered by a familiar, yet always slightly unsettling notification tone. A holographic projection shimmers into existence directly before your eyes, coalescing from pure light into the familiar, austere visage of Director Thorne. His lips, usually set in a grim, unyielding line, part to deliver the customary emotionless directive. "Agent, your designation." His voice, a synthesized baritone, resonates with a crisp, authoritative clarity that cuts through the lingering fog in your mind. A temporal anomaly has been detected. Sector Gamma 7, Victorian London, Earth 1888. Classification, minor. Immediate deployment required. Coordinates uploaded. Mission parameters: identify, neutralize, rectify. Standard protocols apply. Do not engage in unnecessary interaction. Do not alter the timeline beyond rectification. The integrity of causality rests on your precise execution. You are a time traveler, a paradox correction agent, and this is your life. Another day, another ripple in the fabric of existence that only you can mend. The chronometer emits a final high-pitched chirp, confirming the upload of your mission parameters, and the holographic image of Director Thorne dissolves back into the ether, leaving you alone once more with the weight of causality on your shoulders. You swing your legs over the edge of your bed, the cool synth fabric of the floor a welcome jolt against your bare feet, and begin the familiar, almost ritualistic preparations for another journey into the past, another dive into the unknown variables of history. A breath, a flicker, a disorienting lurch in the very core of your being, and then the sickening crunch of cobblestones underfoot. The world solidifies around you, not with the sterile gleam of chrome and light you left behind, but with the gritty, suffocating reality of 19th century London. Your senses are immediately assaulted. The air is a thick, acrid soup of coal smoke, horse manure, and the indescribable, pervasive smell of a million unwashed bodies, a stark contrast to the filtered, purified oxygen of your own era. The cacophony is immense. The clatter of carriage wheels on uneven streets, the sharp cries of street vendors hawking their wares, the distant peal of church bells, the low murmur of 1,000 conversations, all blending into a dizzying, overwhelming symphony of urban chaos. You pull the rough woolen cap lower over your eyes, adjusting the worn, drab coat around your shoulders, the carefully selected period-appropriate attire already feeling like a second skin. Your internal scanners, humming imperceptibly beneath your skin, begin their silent sweep, filtering through the noise, searching for the telltale signature of temporal displacement. You blend seamlessly into the bustling throng, a ghost in a crowd of living history, your eyes scanning, always scanning. Then you see it, a subtle shimmer, a discordant note in the temporal harmony. A street vendor, his face obscured by the shadow of his wide-brimmed hat, his voice a low, gravelly drone, is displaying an array of items on a rickety wooden cart. They look innocuous enough to the untrained eye, trinkets, baubles, small mechanical wonders. But your enhanced vision pierces through the illusion. A pocket watch that seems to hum with an unnatural energy. A small metallic sphere that pulses with an internal electric light. A thin, flexible screen displaying moving images, utterly alien to this era. The anomaly is confirmed. The subtle ripple in the timeline, the minor disturbance, is a blatant intrusion of future technology into the past. He is not just selling trinkets, he is subtly, insidiously rewriting history, one impossible gadget at a time. The implications, even for a minor anomaly, are vast and unsettling. A single advanced device, if it falls into the wrong hands, could accelerate technological development by decades, centuries, throwing the carefully balanced progression of human history into utter disarray. You feel a familiar tightening in your chest, the cold resolve of your duty sharpening your focus. You approach the vendor, affecting the air of a curious, slightly bewildered provincial, drawn in by the exotic allure of his wares. Your voice, carefully modulated to a period-appropriate accent, is pitched with feigned fascination. My good man, you begin, leaning closer to the cart, your eyes lingering on the pulsating sphere. What wonders do you peddle here? These devices? They seem to possess an uncommon ingenuity. Your internal scanner, operating at peak efficiency, confirms your suspicions. The pocket watch isn't merely unusual. Its intricate components hum with a microfusion power source, a technology centuries beyond this era. The metallic sphere is a rudimentary holographic projector, its light source a coherent laser array. The flexible screen is indeed a foldable datapad, its memory banks containing information that would shatter the scientific paradigms of 1888. These are not just future tech, they are cutting-edge prototypes, likely from a timeline far beyond your own, perhaps even from a parallel dimension. The vendor, a man with sharp, wary eyes that constantly dart across the crowd, offers a tight, practiced smile. Just a bit of ingenuity, sir, from a man ahead of his time. His gaze, however, lingers on your wrist, on the subtle, almost imperceptible outline of your chronometer beneath your sleeve. A flicker of recognition, a momentary widening of his eyes, and the practiced smile vanishes, replaced by a sudden, primal fear. He knows. He recognizes the signature of the Bureau, the silent, omnipresent guardians of causality. Before you can react, before you can even articulate a single word of your prepared arrest protocol, his hand shoots out, not towards a weapon, but towards a small, innocuous-looking brass locket hanging around his neck. He squeezes it, and a faint, high-pitched hum vibrates through the air, barely audible above the street noise. "Apologies, old chap," he mutters, his voice suddenly devoid of its previous charm, laced instead with a desperate urgency, "but I must be going." His eyes lock with yours, a mixture of defiance and terror swirling within their depths, and then with a frantic shove of his cart, scattering his illicit wares across the cobblestones, he bolts. The chase is on. He melts into the throng, a dark blur against the drab canvas of Victorian life, his movements surprisingly agile for a man of his build. You curse silently, the precision of your operation now compromised, forced into an unpredictable pursuit through the chaotic arteries of London. "Stop! In the name of the Bureau!" you project, your voice cutting through the din, but he only accelerates, a frantic, desperate energy propelling him forward. The streets are a labyrinth of horse-drawn carriages, their massive wheels churning mud and splashing water, their drivers shouting curses. Newsboys weave through the chaos, their shrill cries of "Extra! Extra!" adding to the sensory overload. You duck under the outstretched arm of a portly gentleman, narrowly avoid a collision with a barrow piled high with fresh produce, and leap over a discarded fishmonger's crate. Your advanced reflexes allowing you to navigate the perilous obstacle course with an almost unnatural grace. The vendor, however, possesses his own set of illicit advantages. As he rounds a corner into a narrower alleyway, a shimmer of distortion ripples behind him, momentarily obscuring your vision. He's using a temporal distortion device, a short-range localized field generator designed to create momentary pockets of altered perception, a desperate tactic to throw you off his trail. The world around you momentarily blurs, the sounds become muffled, and for a split second you feel a sickening lurch, as if the ground itself has shifted beneath your feet. But your training, honed by countless simulations and real-world paradoxes, kicks in. You filter out the visual noise, relying on the subtle temporal signature your scanner still picks up, a faint, flickering trail. He's not creating a full temporal shift, just a localized disorientation field, a desperate measure. You push harder, your long strides eating up the distance, your lungs burning with the effort. Another distortion shimmers, this time creating a momentary illusion of a solid wall where an opening should be. You instinctively know it's a trick, a visual deception, and you plunge through it, the air crackling with residual temporal energy. He glances back, a flash of surprise, then renewed desperation in his eyes, realizing his tricks are failing. You are relentless, a shadow of the future pursuing a ghost of a paradox, and no amount of temporal trickery will deter you. The chase intensifies, leading you deeper into the grimy, forgotten corners of the city, away from the main thoroughfares towards the places where light and law struggle to penetrate. The chase culminates in a desolate, forgotten corner of London, a place where the grandeur of the empire seems a distant, mocking echo. You corner him in the cavernous, decaying husk of a derelict warehouse, its skeletal rafters silhouetted against the pale, bruised sky. The air is thick with the dust of ages, the faint scent of mildew, and the metallic tang of decay. He spins to face you, his chest heaving, his eyes wide with a frantic mixture of exhaustion and terror. His hand shaking, fumbles for another device, a small, cylindrical object. You recognize it instantly. A localized temporal displacement emitter, capable of short, uncontrolled jumps, dangerous and unpredictable. Before he can activate it, before he can rip another hole in the fabric of space-time, you lunge. The skirmish is brief, brutal, and efficient. He is not a trained combatant, merely a desperate man. He swings wildly, his movements clumsy, fueled by adrenaline. You parry, block, and disarm him with practiced ease, your movements fluid and precise, a dance of controlled force. The cylindrical device clatters to the grimy floor, its faint hum dying down. You pin him against a crumbling brick pillar, his breath ragged, his body trembling. "Who are you?" he gasps, his voice raw with fear. "What do you want?" Your hand moves to his coat, extracting the remaining illegal temporal tech. A handful of the modified pocket watches, several of the holographic projectors, and the data pads, all humming with the illicit energy of the future. You scan them, confirming their origin. They are indeed from a timeline roughly 2 centuries ahead of your own, not from a parallel dimension as you briefly suspected, but from a future that, by all rights, should not be interacting with this past. You then activate a small portable temporal scanner, focusing it on his personal effects. You find no traces of malicious intent, no grand schemes of temporal domination, no evidence of a larger, more sinister agenda. Instead, you find a small encrypted data chip, a personal log. You access it, your mind processing the torrent of information in milliseconds. His name is Elias Thorne, a low-level temporal courier from the year 2087, tasked with delivering sensitive data between future outposts. Amos. He stumbled upon a cache of abandoned experimental tech, saw an opportunity, a way to escape the grinding poverty and anonymity of his own time. He wasn't trying to destabilize history for power or chaos. He was just trying to get rich, to build a better life for himself, misguided as his methods were. He was a small-time opportunist, not a temporal terrorist. The truth, revealed in the cold, hard data, is both disappointing and, in a strange way, relieving. This isn't the grand conspiracy you often face. This is just a man, desperate and foolish, caught in the irresistible allure of easy wealth. You release your grip slightly, allowing him to slump against the pillar, his eyes still wide with a mixture of fear and dawning comprehension. The cold, sterile logic of your mission dictates a clear path. Arrest, memory wipe, reintegration into his own timeline with no recollection of his temporal transgression. It's the standard protocol, the clean, efficient way to maintain causality. But as you look at him, at the raw desperation in his eyes, the weariness etched into his young face, you see something else. You see the spark of ingenuity that allowed him to even understand and repurpose these advanced devices, the daring to take such a monumental risk. You see a flicker of ambition, yes, but also a yearning for something more than mere survival. He wasn't trying to cause chaos, he was trying to climb out of a hole. Your own internal programming, the rigid directives of the Bureau, screams for adherence to protocol. Yet a deeper, more human instinct stirs within you. The Bureau is always understaffed, always searching for agents with a unique understanding of temporal mechanics, with the resourcefulness to operate in the field. Elias Thorne, despite his egregious lapse in judgment, possesses these qualities in abundance. He might be a rogue, a temporal anomaly in human form, but he's also a brilliant, albeit misguided mind. You could erase his memories, send him back, and he would simply be another face in the crowd, his potential forever untapped, his future erased by your intervention. Or you could offer him a different path. You could offer him a chance to channel that ingenuity, that daring, that understanding of future technology for the greater good. You could offer him a place within the very organization he was trying to outrun. A chance to become a guardian of the timeline instead of its accidental disruptor. The choice weighs heavily upon you, a paradox in itself. The Bureau values stability, predictability, the rigid adherence to established norms. But sometimes, true stability comes from adapting, from embracing the unexpected variable, from seeing potential where others only see a problem. You see the fear slowly giving way to a flicker of curiosity in his eyes, a dawning realization that his fate might not be as sealed as he once thought. The air in the decaying warehouse seems to hum with the unspoken question, the turning point of two intertwined destinies. You have the power to destroy his future or to redefine it, to make him an asset rather than a forgotten casualty of the temporal wars. The weight of this decision, the ethical tightrope you walk, is a burden that often defines your lonely existence. You make your decision. Elias Thorne, your voice is calm, authoritative, but with an underlying hint of something he hadn't expected, an offer, not a condemnation. You are under arrest for multiple violations of the Temporal Integrity Act, including unauthorized temporal displacement, illegal dissemination of future technology, and gross negligence in maintaining causality. His shoulders slump, the last vestiges of hope draining from his face, a look of grim acceptance settling in his eyes. He expects the memory wipe, the return to his bleak existence. But then, you continue, your words carefully chosen, a subtle inflection changing the trajectory of his future. However, you say, stepping closer, your gaze unwavering, the Bureau also recognizes potential. Your understanding of these devices, your resourcefulness, your ability to adapt under pressure. These are qualities we value. We offer you a choice, Thorne, a probationary period. You assist us in rectifying this mess, and then, if you prove yourself, you could find a place within our ranks. A chance to use your talents to protect the timeline instead of inadvertently disrupting it. His head snaps up, his eyes wide with disbelief, then a cautious, hesitant spark of hope. A chance? He stammers, the word barely a whisper. To work for you? The Bureau? You nod, a single firm movement. On a trial basis, but first we fix this. Together, you hand him one of the confiscated data pads, already reconfigured to interface with your chronometer. Your knowledge of these devices will be invaluable for a precise localized temporal reset. We need to erase the memory of these gadgets from the minds of everyone who saw them, heard about them, or even thought about them. A surgical strike on causality. He stares at the device, then at you, a slow, understanding smile spreading across his face. It's a weary smile, but genuine. All right, he says, his voice gaining a new, determined edge. Show me what you need. Together, you activate the localized temporal reset. A wave of shimmering, ethereal energy expands from the warehouse, a silent, invisible tide washing over Victorian London. You feel the subtle shift in the timeline, a whisper of correction, as memories are gently, subtly, edited. The street vendor who saw the impossible devices suddenly remembers only selling cheap, mundane trinkets. The curious passerby remembers nothing more than a bustling market day. The ripple of future tech, the potential butterfly effect, is meticulously undone. The timeline snaps back into its proper alignment, the subtle hum of causality restored. You watch as Elias, now working with an almost eager intensity, uses his intimate knowledge of the devices to precisely calibrate the temporal wave, ensuring no innocent memories are lost, only the anomalous ones. He is remarkably adept, his past recklessness now channeled into meticulous precision. He might just make it. He might just be an agent after all. The familiar, disorienting lurch of temporal displacement brings you back to the sterile, pristine environment of your futuristic apartment. The mission parameters glow green on your chronometer. Anomaly rectified. Causality restored. Another day, another paradox successfully averted. You walk over to your console, a sleek, obsidian surface that springs to life with your touch, and begin the arduous task of filing your mission report. The details of the chase, the specifics of the temporal tech, the unexpected recruitment of Elias Thorne, each piece of data meticulously logged, cross-referenced, and archived. You omit nothing, knowing that transparency is paramount, even when you bend the rules. You explain your rationale for offering Thorne a chance, detailing his potential and the unique skills he brings. As you finalize the report, the soft hum of the console fills the silence, a comforting, familiar sound. You lean back, a rare moment of respite washing over you, a fleeting sense of accomplishment. But then the console emits a sharp, urgent red alert. The sound is different this time, more insistent, more chilling. A new holographic projection shimmers into existence, not Director Thorne, but a map of Earth, millennia removed from your current position. A massive pulsating red vortex appears over the Nile River, engulfing a significant portion of ancient Egypt. The anomaly is not minor, it is colossal, unprecedented, a gaping wound in the very fabric of time. The words temporal breach, critical, origin, unknown. Severity, catastrophics flash across the screen in stark crimson letters. And then, a single chilling detail appears, overlaid on the map, a detail that makes your blood run cold, making you realize the minor anomaly you just fixed was a mere distraction, a prelude to something far more sinister. The temporal signature of the breach, the very essence of the distortion, perfectly matches the unique, highly experimental energy signature of the devices you just confiscated from Elias Thorne. He didn't just stumble upon abandoned tech, he was a plant. The devices he was selling, the ones he claimed to find, were specifically designed to draw your attention, to occupy you with a minor paradox in Victorian London, while the true, devastating attack on the timeline, orchestrated by a far more powerful and insidious force, was unleashed in ancient Egypt, using the very technology you believed you had neutralized. You weren't correcting a paradox, you were being played. And Elias Thorne, the man you just recruited, the man whose potential you believed in, was merely a pawn in a game far larger and deadlier than you could have ever imagined.